If we came from the holy place for the Jewish people, here is the most holy place for the Christians people. Here, in that place, Jesus crucified, died, and resurrected. In a way, I could say, oh, we're talking about the end of the story. But no, guys, we're talking about the beginning of the story, the beginning of the Messiah. You have to imagine Jerusalem 2,000 years ago. I know it's so hard right now to wipe all the structures over here and to see hills, but that was the Calvary Hills, okay? And the Romans brought Jesus all the way over here. There is a traditions road, and we call this the Via Dolorosa, or the cross way. Then Jesus passed from cross stations to the cross stations. Inside of the church, that the last 5 stations of Jesus before he crucified. If I'm going to talk about the 10 stations, it's up there. You see the ladder over there? The ladder over there, it's kind of a traditions between different Christians, denominations, then still fighting of 200 years who that stations belong to. Inside of the church, there is so many denominations. We have the Assyrians, the Catholic, the Greek, the Armenian, the Ethiopians. Surely I forgot 2 or 3 denominations Russians? Over there.
Russians?
No Russians. No, Pravoslav, it's not over there. And all of them want to take some part next to the tomb of Jesus. It's that important. But I always like to ask the questions and sometimes to answer how we know this is a Jesus tomb. Why we decide then this is the place. Why we know then the Protestants believe then the tomb of Jesus, it's not here, it's next to Damascus Gate. Well, I like to go with the ancient traditions, because if for 1700 years people believe then that's the tomb of Jesus, probably that's the tomb of Jesus. Now, if you're going to tell me, but it's inside of the city, and according to the Jewish faith, you're not allowed to bury anyone inside of the city. It has to be outside of the city, outside of the camp. I would say, yes, it was outside of the city, because the city was that point. Then I show you where the wall was under us, okay, beneath us. And that was surely outside of the city. 3rd century, when Helena came here, Helena, mother of Constantine, she came and she recognized that place as a tomb of Jesus. But how Helena recognized that place as a tomb of Jesus? She knew then the Roman Adrianus, to hurt to the Jewish people very so strongly, he built on top of a Jesus tomb a temple for Aphrodite and Zeus, and by that he wanted to delete his name. We have to understand what we call the early Christianity, and we really believed in it was a Christian people. I have a news for you. It was only Jewish people. Jesus talked to the Jewish people. He was Jewish. His disciple was Jewish. And the whole story is a story of the Jewish people. When I first studied Christianity, I remember then my teacher told us, before we starting the first class, I want you to read the New Testament. And for me as a Jewish man that never knew what is a New Testament meaning, I start to read and read and read and read. And finally I came to the class and I said, hey, teacher, it's a Jewish story. And she said, now we're going to start our teaching. It's all about Jewish, the temple. The rabbi from the Galilee. I call them a rabbi because for me Jesus is the rabbi from the Galilee, and the land of Judah, and everything is a Jewish. You're not hearing any words of other nations over there beside the Romans. So when she came over here, she knew that the Romans built on top of Jesus' tomb a temple. She recommended to destroying that, and she built a very small tomb. That tomb was existing for 300 years until the 6th century. But before that, she was looking for Jesus' cross. And inside of the church, down to the layer or the level of the city, you're going to see there is a cave. The cave, no name, the cave of Helena. What she finds over there is the original cross of Jesus. But how she knew this is the original cross? She knew that the rumors said that a Jewish family know about where that original cross buried, and she enforced them to know to tell her that, and those Jewish family in the end told her where to dig, and finally she find 3 crosses, not one. Why 3? Because next to Jesus was another 2 people, the good one and the bad one, you know. And now it's a big dilemma, okay? You know what's the difference between dilemma and problem, yeah? You know, problem, you have the solutions. Dilemma, every choice is like you take a risk. So she want to know what I'm going to do right now. So like any story in the Bible, was a funeral, then was walking in the city, she stopped the funeral, and she recommends to bring the dead persons and to lay his body in each cross. And guess what? The cross, then the persons resurrect back to life. She knew then that's the original cross. And that cross was here for 300 years, until in a very short time, the Persians was occupied, the Byzantine Romans, in 614, and they came to that church. They stole that cross, and since then, nobody knows what happened with that cross. Isn't it sounds familiar? The Art of a Covenant, and still Indiana Jones looking for that. You know, we know that. Okay, so it's like the same story. Why I'm saying that? Because you could see a lot of a similar story between Christianity and Judaism, because according to the Christian's faith, Judaism, it's prefiguration for the Messiah then going to come. And here we know that Jesus comes actually to replace the temple, to replace the prayer, and also to replace the sacrifices. And instead of sacrificed animals, we not sacrifice anymore. Jesus, he sacrificed his own body over there. The second floor, you're going to see the 11 stations when Jesus crucified, 12 when he died on the cross, it's next to that. 13 stations, it's right on front. You're going to see a rock. Then Jesus, after he died, they lay his body over there and they anoint him to be the king of the Jew. How we choosing the king of the Jew? We're not choosing. God chose the king of the Jew, and the priest anointing him and pronounce then he is the king of the Jew. We know the story about David and Nathan. We know Solomon and etc. Okay, so the first priest then knew that Jesus, the Son of God, was Joseph Arimathea, and Joseph Arimathea was a priest in the temple, and he recognized Jesus as the Son of God, and he knew that he had to do something and to bury him. You have to remember, according to the Roman law, if your death penalty it's by crucifixion, you have to stay on the cross until first of all you die. Secondly, the bird and bad animals will eat your body. You not deserve to have a grave. And grave in that time was costing a lot of money, and Jesus didn't have that money. But how the Romans give a permit to bury Jesus? Because of that man, Joseph Arimathea, then came to Pontius Pilate and asked him for permissions to bury him. Pontius Pilate didn't care. He said for him it was another Jew to crucify, you know. And we know what he said when he asked Jesus, you are the king of the Jew, because that's the obligation, that's what the Jew said about Jesus, that he's the king of the Jew. And according to the Roman law, you're not allowed to pronounce yourself as a king of someone in the empire of the Romans. And he said, no, you said it. Remember, Pontius Pilate tried to convince the priests and to make some a deal by telling him, I'm going to release Barabbas, one of your priests, from jail, instead of let him go free. And the Sadducee, which the priests, was shouting, crucified him, crucified him, crucified him. His blood on our head and our children's head until the end of the time. Yeah? That's something very deep, to hear things like that. And Pontius Pilate said, I'm washing my hand from that man's sin, because he knew that he had no sin. And he's totally a lamb, and he sacrificed him for the humanity. And it's happened right over here. So the left side of the church, you're going to see a huge monument, and that's the grave. That's the tomb of Jesus. If it's open, guys, go inside, say a prayer. We have less than 10 minutes to do everything, like in the Western Wall. Okay? So we equal. Don't tell me then we did in the Western Wall more than, okay? And go over there, do the pray, and we have to run to the car, okay?
So meet back here in 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
25 here. But
25-ish here. Shabbat.